My guest today is someone who pioneered flatpack furniture manufacturing way back in 1996. That's a good 28 years ago. And the interesting thing is that he still continues to dominate the industry like a colossus. And so much so that he is now considered a mentor and a flag bearer of the furniture industry. And it's no surprise then that this year he was recognized as Person of the Year 2024 at India Kitchen Congress Awards earlier this year.
Sure.
Welcome to the show, Kirit.
Thank you. Thank you, Deepak ji. Always a pleasure to have an interaction with you.
Yes, absolutely. And every time, at least I take away a lot of nuggets of wisdom from you.
My pleasure.
Well, let's talk about the origins, your origins as a furniture manufacturer and of Spacewood. How did you get into this line?
So, Deepak ji, it was in 1992 when I passed out from VNIT Nagpur, and I joined VIP Industries Group, where they had just recently started office furniture division. And I was amongst the first few employee there, and I was employed for vendor development there. And in that particular year, most of the IT boom started in India. And the VIP group was one of the pioneer to start modular office furniture there. So I had an experience of about 1.5 years working with them. And eventually there was a lot of shortage of vendors to them, because then obviously this industry was very, 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 very new at that point of time. And then I left my job, and then that's how I started. So I was working for a furniture industry for 2 years.
So it was the entrepreneurial bug that was actually biting you.
Yes, because then before this, I was also with my partner Vivek. In college days also, I was an entrepreneur where we used to write books and guides, and then we used to sell it. So I think that was, so as an entrepreneur, it has been my more than 35 years now as an entrepreneur.
So in today's parlance, you would have been a startup way back then.
Yeah, I would say startup, but then the concept of startup was a little different there. You have to be profitable from a day one. So today the principles of startup are different. The principles of startup are more on a scale side. So today, earlier it was more on a profitable side. So the definitions of startup or the pedigree of startup was different earlier.
How did your organization grow in terms of capabilities or size, infrastructure, and all?
Yeah, I think post we started as a small, maybe 10 people, 2,000 square feet and 65,000 rupees of investments. That was my starting point. And actually me and Vivek were because being both of us from a mechanical engineering background. So we worked on almost every machine, whether it was a cutting panel saw, whether it was edge banders, whether it was a CNC routers. So almost every machine we used to be like a normal operator. And the technology engagement was very, very high in terms of ours getting used to work on a technology. So that helped in probably growing a little faster. And once you are little on a fast track, then you also attract a lot of talent along with that. And then eventually a lot of my colleagues who were working with my earlier furniture company, they started joining us. So I think most of the organization was built on a lot of people who were my old colleagues earlier. So, and we kept on expanding. And then eventually one day where that company was sold out, and we had more employees than them. And then we were much more larger than them. So in a span of almost 12 to 15 years, we could actually outgrow than my first company.
What was the nature of the business at that time? What kind of furniture? Was it only office furniture that you were manufacturing?
We started, our starting point was office furniture components, but eventually we got into kitchen cabinets and membrane press doors in 1997. So we had both the exposures. So exposure to a office or a commercial space, and also exposure to a residential space. So I think which was going parallel. So we kept on these two lines, which are running parallel till date. Today, we are equally exposed to both segments, like whether it is a residential or whether it's a commercial.
Didn't the concept of modularity come much later? At that time, the idea of modularity was there, or was it popular in?
Idea of modularity came into office furniture first. So I think the same principles were adopted to modular kitchens also. The same like 60 centimeter, 45, 30, 90. So I think that so almost the same, it works with the same kind of a principles, and also it works with the same kind of a panel which we use it. There is a lot of metal into office furniture, which is lesser in a residential side. But yes, the modularity is by and large the same.
At that time, you're talking about early,
94, 96, 97 types.
right, 97 and up to 2000 or so.
2004, 5 types.
Yeah. So how was the industry shaping up at that time? Were there other manufacturers? How large were they? Were you among
Yeah.
the bigger
So,
one?
so I think industry was shaping more towards the commercial office furniture spaces. There were plenty of office furniture companies which was there. Also plenty of chair companies also there. So I think office part was the main part because the office was much more matured there. And the most important part was that the demand in office was tremendous, because then most of the worldwide IT companies were setting up shops in India. So for their offices, they needed into a very small period. So I think the boom was most on our office furniture side. And yes, I would say Bangalore had plenty of office furniture companies. Bombay had plenty. Delhi had plenty. So I would say the most of the big enterprise were created for office spaces. And into 2005 onwards, I think that the modular kitchen or modular home furniture started in when lot of large retailers like Hometown, Home Center, they started modular for the home side. And that's how when the organized retail comes, then I think the ecosystem gets developed. And that's how I would rather say that post 2005, there was a much more larger growth rate of residential side on a modular furniture. So we started Spacewood brand from a day one, and then we still, of course, now we have built it up very strongly. Earlier, it was more of a component company, but in 2005, we moved from a component brand to a finished product brand, offering a solution for modular kitchen, modular wardrobe, office furniture, also, and standard stock and sale bedrooms and TV units and loose furniture. So today, by now, we have also added one more line of products, which is a pre-hung door now. With Japanese collaboration, we also added this new line of the business. So today we are more from let's say we have more 70% we have products which are more going in residential side, 70 to 75, and 25% products are going into commercial spaces.
You are based in Nagpur, which is actually the center of the country,
Yeah.
geographically.
Yeah.
And from there, you have a bird's view of what all the growth that is happening across the country.
Yeah, there are pluses and minuses both, because then on a plus side, we are the center of India, logistically center of India, where we can cater to Calcutta, where we can cater to Mumbai, or where we cater to Delhi or maybe Bangalore at a similar period, in a similar logistics price. But then the other side, you're never close to a largest market. So that's a disadvantage also there. So because then had you been based out of Bangalore, but at least you are closest to the most largest market. But then it is fine. So I think the logistic cost is not so great in India in terms of and we, as long as you are into a flat pack kind of a manufacturing, it doesn't matter too much.
So when you started flatpack, how was the reception to this idea? Of course, it must have been well developed in Western countries, but in India.
I think the flat pack was fantastic idea, because then most of the company Gautier was the first company which came in India with a collaboration with Birla Group. I think Birla Group started Gautier in India, and they had all the flat pack products. I think there was one more company which was Bhutan Board, which also started a RTA furniture in India. So these were the two pioneers of, probably on a residential side, started a flat pack furniture in India. And then eventually it was, because you need to understand why people buy flat pack. A, one, because of the convenience. B, also because of the price, because then you're spending much more lesser money in terms of flat pack products.
But in terms of its manufacturing, in terms of its designing and its logistics, does it require more technology and more insights to be making flat pack furniture, or it's easier?
No, a it is easier with technology. Let me also put it like that. It is easier. Certainly, it is not so difficult, but it is easier provided you have a right technology to do it and right precision machines. You need to have that. Number one. Number two important part is, yes, from a cost angle, yes, it is certainly cheaper as compared to being an assembled, because in an assembled you are the logistics cost would be humongous, like, and then you would have limitation that you can't really ship it a complete assembled product from here to Nagpur to Guwahati. But today you can dream of selling anywhere in the world, right?
But then the service element comes in,
But then
installation and
I think there are so much of a people who have over a period of last 25 years, so many people are being trained now. There's so many, and then it is more of a DIY concept. Do it yourself, not exactly by a individual user, but then if you give to any carpenter or any fitter, he'll be able to do it much more easily now. So I don't think so there is too much of a skill there.
well, coming back to your entrepreneurial journey,
Yeah.
surely everything would not have been so hunky dory easy. There must have been your trials and tribulations.
Yeah.
So, could you narrate some of the ups and downs of your journey as an entrepreneur?
So as an entrepreneur, you keep on see. I think that that's a part and parcel in the journey. That nothing is as smooth and as a highway. Otherwise, you would have been the highway would have been cluttered, and there could have been a jam on the highway. In case if that would have been so easy for everyone. So you keep on fighting on every front. Like, I mean, not that there is one challenge. So it comes on. Sometimes you have a growth rate which slows down, can also be a big challenge for everyone. So it slows down the way in which we thought that okay, it should grow, but it doesn't grow. So it could not grow because of your probably for the manpower issues, for maybe a product and a price fit may not be right, and then your strategy may have gone wrong in terms of. I think that's where the challenge comes, the slow of the growth rate, which is a big time challenge to everyone, and where most of the entrepreneur also faces, like whether if it is a small company or a big company, the growth rate is a challenging thing which comes periodically to everyone, that you touch a ceiling and then you have to find another ways to grow it. The second also sometimes you faced also governance issues, that okay, when you become a large organization, then the governance issue also comes into the picture, where things are not as right as you think, and then people behavior problems can also cause a big time issue. Then the manpower issue is a eternal issues, but then I guess that we are not too much concerned on that part right now, because time and again you don't get a skilled manpower. Then actually, so I think that's a recurring problem which the industry faces. But yes, we were overcoming it with because me and Vivek both are A, technical, B, at a leadership level, we were able to find it out. It was an initial problem. Now we have a very strong team at the leadership level where there are churnouts, but then at a little bottom level, we are able to train people much more faster. So I have no problem even picking up maybe 100 graduate trainees right now, and then probably restarting the organization is a zero problem to me right now. So I think that training is an answer to most of things. Then the another problem is, yes, when I was saying governance problem, that we had a limited management bandwidth, and you try to expand too much, and then you're not able to control it. Like we expanded retail very heavily, but then we had governance issues that okay, yaar, itna sab control nahi kar pate. So then you lose money there. We started a factory in Malaysia, also in China. It went on, theoretically it works fantastic, but then governance issues comes into the picture. So you lose money because of that. So that's what I mean by governance. Then the manpower, yes, as I've already spoken about it, you need to time and again it comes at a different level right now. At a leadership level, you need to recruit people, then it's a challenge. But then yes, you need to find your own solutions for that. The one more large thing which has also been a problem to us was the fire. So we had a very massive fire in the organization about 3 years back now, 3 to 4 years back now, more than 4 years now. So that was a huge, I would say, a big time a setback to us. But then, yes, with the grace of God and with the divine power, we were able to come out of that.
One thing I have observed in my talks with a number of entrepreneurs
Yeah.
is that the founder, the leader of the enterprise,
Yeah.
is unable to give up control
Yeah.
and create space for more or other talented people to come in and
Yeah.
become part of the management. Do you think you've also faced this?
If you ask me, yes, but then what you need to do is you need to do it. It's a little gradual process. Okay. So you need to withdraw from certain things gradually. You really can't say one day that, okay, आज मैं XYZ एज का हो गया हूँ और मैं कल से अब आप ये करोगे, you will do that, you will do that, I do that. I don't think so that ever happens. You need to start this as a gradual process. So let me also, what I'm trying to say. So you empower people to take their own decisions slowly. Once you think that at till certain point they are able to take it, allow them slowly. So all your decision making, everything can happen. So you can probably, you don't have to give up fully, but beyond a point, yes, you can say that at till this level, you don't have to ask me. Beyond a point, yes, take my advice. So rather than completely hand over, it makes more sense to handhold it. So today what we do right now is more of a handholding than handing it over.
How are you implementing that, the hand-holding part? What kind of a culture have you built into your organization?
So
That
handhold it in sense that you probably train them, you give them a lot of perspective, you give them a lot of option, let them take a decision. But then obviously, like even in a lot of capital item, a lot of machine item, I don't take a decision, neither Vivek takes. Probably most of the people below us takes. We just trying to tell them that, okay, this is what is right, this is what is, you can look into this, you can look into that. But decision is always probably with the plant head or the operation head. So we won't really interfere into decision, but then we help them, handle them, enable them to take a right decision. So I think that's the best way to do it.
so how large is your team?
So today Spacewood has more than 2,000 people, but at a leadership level, we are about 10, 12 people who are really with me for more than a decade, who are very close to management, and then who are being very independent in terms of their decision making also. But then what we do, as I've been repetitive, we help them in taking a right decision.
These 10 odd people that you are mentioning, are they old hands or
They're very old hands. So they're old hands. They've been working with me. So we have a lot of workers also who retired in Spacewood. So just imagine somebody worked as for 25 plus years and then more than 28, 30 years, and then they have also retired with Spacewood. Not only that retired, we have also father and son also working with us in the company. So we have a lot of something like that also in Spacewood, where father is also working, the son is also working. So two generation working in Spacewood is also there.
so that speaks a lot about the culture at the organization, which due to which you are able to hold on to good people.
Yes. So let me also tell you, this is not only happening with employees, but also with a lot of dealer network, a lot of franchisee network, a lot of partners also, where two generations have come into the business and both have said, ki yaar nahi, theek hai, I'll prefer to be with Spacewood rather than one recent case where very close associate of us, Nagpur mein, Manish Velankar, who is our partner for our exclusive store here. His son did his MS in data science and statistics in US. Now, after 1 year, he said, "Nahi, Dada, I don't want to be in US. I want to come and then probably I'll represent Spacewood in Pune." So he's now settled in Pune now. So two generation there. So there are a lot of cases where people are here with us for two generation.
Let's talk a bit about the state of the furniture industry. Let's talk from the point of view of a new entrepreneur who wants to enter. So, what do you think are the challenges that new entrants should be aware of?
See, I think the furniture industry please understand, furniture industry is more of a design-driven industry. Okay. So where you need to have a little eye on design in case if you want to be very successful here, because then the first filter where the furniture guys will say कि मुझे अच्छा design चाहिए करके. That design comes first. So if you're not valuing design, if you're not being highly design centric, then you tend to be either a cost centric or a value centric. But in case if you're going to be cost and a value centric, tomorrow IKEA is going to beat you, because then they are going to be so large that they're going to beat you. So any large player is going to beat you on a cost and a price in case if you're there. So if you're going to be, so there has to be some mode to it, some speciality to it. So either the technology has to be very strong or something very unique here, or the process has to be very strong or unique, or a workmanship has to be very strong and unique. So you can't be a me too. When you do a me too, then the shelf life is lower, then you make lesser money, because then you will face a very intense competition here into this field.
So you are saying that if one has to be there in the long run,
Yeah.
be still be in the game, say 10 years, 20 years, 30 years down the line, you cannot go for.
No, continuously innovating in terms of product, in terms of design, in terms of technology, in terms of your business models. So this is a very, very dynamic industry. So you don't think that what I did maybe 10 years back is still valid. It is valid, but then you will keep on earning what you were earning maybe 10 years back.
So what kind of a design centricity have you brought into Spacewood?
I think the entrepreneurs first comes with being mechanical engineer and little more inclination towards design. So I think the mindset has to be design centric. What I'm trying to say, you may not be a great designer, but at least you start valuing design is something, or you recognize and appreciate that design is the thought process has to be more design centric. So you need to value design. You need to then also you need a helping hand for designs. So I think Spacewood has a good amount of number of designers on board here, which are professional product designers, not the interior designers. That helps us in growing. And they have been with me for, I think they have traveled the world more than what I have traveled. So that's the level of exposure we have here.
Has there been sufficient development in materials for the furniture industry?
I think the material development is pretty good right now. So a lot of things which are developed abroad comes to India very quickly. So I don't think so there is a challenge there. What I'm more concerned about is a narrative. We are not speaking the same narrative. What I'm trying to say, because consumer is still is not too educated in furniture. Like somebody will say teak wood acha hai, somebody will say beech is good, somebody will say plywood is better, somebody would say this is better. And then most of the companies, they would probably try to speak against the each other material. Somebody making plywood will say particle wood is bad. Somebody would say this is bad, this is good. So we try to confuse the customer rather than educating the customer. So we don't give them. So if there is a common narrative, I'm just giving an example where in Italy or in Germany, 100% modular kitchens and wardrobes are made out of particle. 100%. There is no somebody that, okay, we have started in plywood or we make it in MDF or HDF. Because of one common narrative, no, I think the platform is same. So most of people are still struggling to be innovate into a right material. What is the right material? The right material is already being discovered. So each one gives you a different narrative, and the customer gets confused. So what is important is not the standardization of the product. What is the important is standardization of a narrative is more important. हम कम से कम सारे जन एक भाषा तो बोले कि plywood is used for a fixed furniture. If you're doing carpentry at site, then plywood is a fantastic material. When you want to do a permanent joint, plywood is the right material. When you want to do value furniture, particle board is the best. When you do little premium, little more stronger, very strong, you use MDF or HDF. So I think once you speak this narrative, once you have a common education narrative, I think customer will decide what is right for what is purpose.
But are these varied materials becoming available in India, or are we dependent on imports?
No. I think everything is now available in India. We are glad that everything is available in India, though they are little more expensive than what is being abroad. But I would still say availability is not a challenge.
And price is not a big deterrent.
Price sometimes is a deterrent. From an India angle, they are expensive. If you ask me, yes, looking at your per capita income in India, it is expensive. So that's the reason the India consumption is very less, because the consumption class, अब हमको 3 लाख के ऊपर वाले लोग पकड़ने पड़ेंगे जिनका फैमिली इनकम है, तो then you will be able to match the consumption pattern of, let's say, Germany or Europe, or maybe for that matter China also. Whether China is a different ball game altogether. Whether China per let's say per capita income per month is let's say 1 lakh rupees. and the MDF cost is 30 rupees. Here, the per capita income is 15,000 rupees. The MDF cost is 45 rupees. So they are still lesser. But that's the reason that the China consumption of furniture is unimaginable.
Have there been any changes, shifts in government policy to support to
No, actually, the
address?
government policy is what government policy is doing right now. I mean, with all due respect to the intent of government is trying to now put BIS. Now, once they start taking BIS on the product, BIS is good to have you are sensitive to a customer that हमारा कुर्सी से आप कोई गिर नहीं जाओगे, because then it's a BIS. And then promote Make in India. Wonderful. That's a 10 out of 10 marks. But then what happens in BIS is you restrict a lot of imports. Once you restrict a lot of imports, the domestic prices jumps up.
Mhm.
BIS is good for a finished product, not for the raw material. Now the raw material price is going up, finished product gone. As it is, our buying power is lesser. I have told you already that your per capita income is anyway less. So the product anyway is expensive for us. You're making more and more expensive. So your buying power, you're still reducing now.
But aren't they trying to create a situation where more domestic production happens by bringing in this BIS?
Agreed now, domestic, but then
eventually that will happen.
But then you can't stop raw material in that. If you stop raw material, then the Indian raw material prices will go up, and then your furniture will be expensive.
Even after a lag of say 5 years or something, when enough capacities happen.
Whatever the capacities could be, your prices, because then what government should, if government should have been so sensitive towards it, they would have worked more on a forestation policies, that okay, you can plantation policy. So that would help in probably growing. Why not we can have a same MD. So in let's say Thailand and Malaysia, the cost of wood is 2 rupees a kg, right? Whereas in India, it is this poor companies, all this, so all these large MDF factories, they're buying at 6 to 7 rupees a kg. Now, at a 6 to 7 rupees a kg, unfortunately, is going to be very expensive. So in case if India wants to increase the per capita consumption of furniture, they must work on a plantation policy first.
So that production of raw material increases.
Correct. Then that will make it hyper competitive, and then probably your lot of people, my driver will be able to afford a kitchen because you made a raw material cheaper. Today we are trying to make raw material more and more expensive. तो कल आज जो मेरा एक ऑफिसर खरीद पाता था वो भी नहीं खरीद पाएगा.
Right. With these QCOs coming into place,
exactly. So all this
hardware and laminates and boards.
What you're trying to do, are these encouraging to make in India, but restricting out of, let's say, China? Right. Maybe. So what happens is, once you restrict it, the Indian domestic prices will go. So आज जो बेचारे लोग afford कर पाते थे वो भी नहीं करेंगे ना. Had they been expensive, you would not have stopped them because they are cheaper.
Well, let's talk about another very critical resource, that is the skilled manpower.
Yeah.
Though you had mentioned earlier that you have been able to, but at the shop floor level or at the site level, is there a sufficient supply of skilled woodworkers, carpenters, joiners? Is that holding the industry back?
No, I don't think so. There are too much. All these skill councils, they are working very hard, and then full marks to them in terms of what the wonderful job they are doing. But I think that the amount of skilled people needed are much more higher. So one has to get. So this is a very continuous engagement program with the ITI institutes, which one has to really do it, so that there is a continuous recruitment, continuous training. So all this skill, no, I've been telling that. So let's say if the industry has a skill challenge, so I would rather say that then the first person to be recruited is a trainer. So all your skill problem will go, because then you have put a trainer. जो 7 दिन के अंदर में by process somebody trains it on different machines. So if you put a trainer, then even if there is a churn out, you are able to train much more faster. So there are answers to it. So I think the problems are with everyone. But then those who are able to find the answers, they are the winners here. They face the same set of problems which everybody faces. Not that I don't face a problem. I face a problem every hour.
So it's not that enterprises cannot develop their own skilled manpower. It's only their mindset or their...
आप किसी के you're too parasite on dependent, you're too parasite thought process कि मुझे स्किल बन के कोई रेडीमेड मुझे मिलेगा and then I will do a plug and play here. That's that then the industry will be very hyper competitive. So then your cost will be high. If you want a very developed manpower, you take it, huh? You pay him double the salary. But then
You'll be poaching all the time.
then you will then that double the salary, you will not be viable then.
Are we able to build up scale, start manufacturing furniture on industrial standards in large quantities? Do you think that is happening or going to be happening in India?
I think that is happening in India. And especially for the loose furniture, it is happening in India that you process huge amount of panels. And then I think on a home furniture side, it is happening. On a modular side, it is not happening where the scale is there, but then the scale is not that high like Europe, actually, like Europe, or maybe we are still. Let me also give you a very fairly example on numbers because I also spoke on certain forums, the number. The India's top 10 companies, modular furniture or ready-made furniture companies, their sales numbers put together, their revenue number put together are not more than, let's say, less than $1 billion, less than $1 billion, maybe 8,000 crore or maybe 6, 7,000. Could be any number. Whereas the top company in China is 14,000 crore. In Japan, it is 11,000 crore. In a neighboring country like Thailand, it is 6,000 crore. So one company versus India's top company, we're still lesser. So I wouldn't say that we have achieved a scale at all. So we should not be complacent. We should be more humble with all humility. We must accept that we are far more away from what is a big number.
And you think this inability to achieve scale is due to government policies or some other reality?
I wouldn't say that. Had we been a very great entrepreneur, I would have gone to some other country and scaled it up, hypothetically. That I call it as a real entrepreneur who really don't care. If we find that, okay, India policy is bad, just pack your bag, go to maybe a Middle East or maybe go to Saudi or maybe go to Indonesia and build your empire. So I don't think so. That's only an excuse in my opinion. So if you're a great entrepreneur, you would succeed into any conditions. So I think government policies are not to be built. But India, I mean, the whole thing, what is the challenge is the way in which we start growing, So sometimes you start making a building blocks of the organization. You start making columns, pillars. So you know that this way I can build it up only to this level. So you realize it after 10, 12 years that this is going to take me only to this level. So your starting point is wrong, which you can't undo today. And I can't say that 1994 I started with office, home, kitchen, and all those. So I can't really undo now, right? So I have to do course correction. So I know that what I did has taken me to this level. But now if I have to do something else to really for next 10 years, which can take me to $1 billion. So I think so you need to really do something else then.
So we need to have more role models or poster boys, whether in this industry or some other industry, which we can emulate.
So we need to, or else we need to refer to China or probably Thailand or Malaysia, or maybe I'm not saying Malaysia, I'm mostly saying China and Thailand and then Japan. These are the three nations in and around our country, which has built up very large scale.
So what are the positives for the industry? What opportunities are there before us?
So I think there are a lot of industry positives. There is a huge consumer acceptance of this product. So I would say we should be celebrating that today a ready-made table or a knockdown table or a knockdown cupboard or a modular kitchen or a modular office is something which is easily acceptable. Right? So larger mass of the people of a consumer base, they say, "हाँ ठीक है मुझे चलेगा." We are not talking too much about. We are not resisting it कि ना मैं तो अभी office बनाऊंगा plywood से ही बनाऊं. So I don't think so कि और carpentry से बनाऊंगा. So I think there is a acceptance of this concept to a very large mass of the people right now. So I think that's the best part of it. So now, unfortunately or fortunately, today it is too much scattered out now across India. There are hundreds. You click Nagpur and then there are 300 kitchen stores across Nagpur and maybe so which also gives you one insight that the consumer acceptance is there. That's the reason key there are 300 stores. So I think that's the best part which has happened. Like if you have 1,000 coffee shops into a very small city, which means that people are drinking coffee. But at least the best part is drinking coffee. Now you need to be the best to acquire your share.
I see. And whether it's panel furniture or solid wood furniture, across the board, it's the same.
Absolutely across the board, it's the same. If I want to buy let's say, a chair, I won't really go to buy a wood first, make it, polish it. No, actually, I look at a chair manufacturer, buy it.
What is the nature of investment that is happening in India? I mean, are we attracting foreign investment or Indian domestic investment?
Let me tell you, I think from a FDI angle, Spacewood was the first company. I'm glad to share that on your forum, that Spacewood was the first furniture company in India to attract FDI into furniture manufacturing. Most of the private equity funding was there on internet companies, not on a furniture manufacturing per se. So it was more on an internet side. So we are the first one to have FDI, where with the Japan Sumitomo Forestry, we started a door manufacturing unit here. So that was an FDI case. Whereas what Gautier did with was not an FDI, it was a joint venture there at that point. So we're the first one to have FDI. But after that, very less FDI is flowing into India right now. Currently not into manufacturing, more into a brand, more into a platforms, more on. But then yes, we have good news also that IPOs have come now, where Stanley IPO has come. So I think the money availability can be a different route. A lot of private equity are showing interest into this field. So private equity companies have also invested into Wakefeet, which has also started manufacturing now. And I think there are a lot of good names now where private equity has started investing into this field right now. And I guess Stanley was also one of the private equity funded company and eventually now gone public. So I think there are now interest which are building it up, but I think it needs much more larger. So I think that this industry is not really capital intensive industry per se, but it needs more of a skill intensive also. So I think not the human talent intense also. So it's a combination of capital and I would say a human manpower.
Well, the government has acknowledged that furniture has low entry barriers.
Yeah.
And due to which many more entrepreneurs are coming and setting up operations.
Yeah.
Only thing is that production to scale is not happening as much as is desired, and that's why this tinkering of policies here and there.
Government has rightly recognized that it has a low entry barrier, but then see, furniture manufacturing is one item, right? But selling is another item. Both are different kind of skill sets. So most of the people actually, how many are able to probably manufacture and sell or retail under their own brand? You'll ask me, very few. How many brands are created in India nationally into furniture category? Very, very few. Handful of brands who are manufacturer and also a retailer or a brand like Spacewood. Very few have been created. So I think most of the manufacturer, they end up making components, they end up making a backend to somewhere. That's the reason with that attitude, I think it is not growing. So I think you need to understand furniture business to grow very large. You must be able to do 360-degree of the entire thing. You must do it's a durable category. So you must be able to design, you must be able to develop, you must be able to manufacture, you must be able to do market, you must be able to do sale, you must also be able to do services. So all 6 steps of a business are to be done. Most of people end up doing one step, that's a manufacturing. So, and that's the reason they don't succeed.
How many outlets of Spacewood are there now?
So currently we work with about 35 outlets and more than maybe 1,000 odd dealers across India. And
these 35 outlets, these are branded outlets,
company outlets. Besides that, we have special outlets for office furniture experience centers are different. Then we have our own branch offices. Then we have our own setup team. So I guess the sales network is pretty large. And then we are present on digital e-commerce platforms like Paperfry, Flipkart, Amazon. So I think we're pretty omnipresent across these sectors.
So says a lot about your team. That means your team is well oiled and Lots of minds are at work.
Yeah, because I think there's a lot to, I'm not saying we give a credit to a management, but I think most of the leadership are more of a participative leadership is there. So sometimes so leadership also makes a very large difference where you are adding value to most of the people. So I think most of you mentor them well, you help them in solving the problem, you build them up, you try to grow them up, so help them in growing them up. So I think that's the reason that you will find that most of the people are happily being here.
Well, it's been amazing discussing the entrepreneur's journey, especially in the furniture industry. And coming straight from you, I mean, you've been there and seen it all. So I think whoever is going to be listening to your words will definitely have some advantage going forward.
I hope it helps everyone here, whosoever listens to this.
Okay. Thank you very much for joining me on this show and talking to me about this, your journey, your industry, and how we can take it forward.
Absolutely, Deepak. Always a pleasure.
Thank you very much. Have a good day.